My name's Robert Joyce, and this is 30 Minute Life, living with multiple sclerosis. Making a decision when you have a chronic illness to go to hospital in the middle of a pandemic is very difficult. And in this post, which I wrote on April 29th, 2020, I go through the decision process that I went through to decide whether to go to hospital or not. The title of this post is, Should I Get Treatment for My Multiple Sclerosis While COVID-19 is a Life Threat? Should I treat MS while COVID-19 is active? The hills in Connemara must be growing, and the stairs are longer and steeper. Every step has become a moment of concentration. Before the COVID-19 pandemic had become mainstream, my walking had become worse. My right leg is assisted by functional electrical stimulation, but the intensity of the pulse needs to increase. Because of several logistic reasons and staff changes, it has not been possible to get this increase in power completed. Now, because of COVID-19, it isn't possible to get anything done. Last November, I went to get an orthotic measured to help with my foot drop, and also to get something to use instead of the FES device for when I am around the house. This was finally finished 3 weeks ago, just after they recommended us to stay at home. Multiple sclerosis is my main illness, but also I have asthma, sarcoidosis, a lung disease, and chronic pain. This list of illnesses puts me in the category of vulnerable. 3 autoimmune illnesses, 2 affecting my lungs. Very scary. And as a result, I have been staying at home, away from everyone except my partner. She has had to take extreme measures when shopping to ensure none of the virus comes into the house. One of the side effects of the pandemic has been that my partner lost her job and is now at home full-time. This took some adjustment, as I have been solitary for a long time, with maybe 1 day a week going to the university for my work as a part-time research assistant. Having the company at home is great, and the weather has been spectacular. So we have spent time in the back patio enjoying the heat. I don't think a sun holiday is on the cards this year, and I have even got a bit of a tan. Amazing for an Irishman while being in Ireland. We started going for a walk each day, and initially we would walk together. But over the last month, my left leg has become increasingly slow. Unable to lift it, I have ended up swinging it into place, which is bad. So I started using crutches and my FES device at the same time. Last week it hit rock bottom. I could no longer walk. And then last Wednesday, I was so tired I stayed in bed the whole day. Thursday was nearly as bad. I had to phone the doctor. My doctor was aware of how things have been progressing over the last few months, and he contacted my neurologist again. After a brief discussion, he suggested that I should go to hospital to get a checkup. This has been one of the most tough decisions I have ever had to make. Should I expose myself to the risk of getting the SARS-CoV-2 virus and the complications of COVID-19? The possibility of compromised lungs or even death, which could be avoided by going into Galway and entering a hospital which is the centre of treatment for this virus in the west of Ireland. On the other hand, if I didn't treat this worsening of my MS, it could lead to a permanent disability sooner than if I treated it. Now I had to weigh up the 2 prospects: potential death or mobility lost too soon. How was I to make this decision? On Friday, I had a FaceTime appointment with my psychologist, and I discussed the decision I made, and he noted the anxiety in my face. In the last few years going to see the psychologist, he had never seen this much anxiety. It was making me sick to my stomach. This was after deciding, and usually once I decide, all my anxiety disappears, but not this time. My choice was to go to the hospital, and I let my doctor know on Friday morning, and I had an appointment for 11 on Monday to be assessed. On Monday, I made the trip, and my neurologist and a physiotherapist checked me, and the decision was to admit me for IV steroids, physiotherapy, and a set of MRI scans. Something was about to happen. It is now Wednesday, and I have already taken my third infusion of steroids, had my MRI scans, and been assessed by the occupational therapist and physiotherapist. I'm waiting for the results of the scans, but the treatment seems to help, and the extra advice from the physical therapist and the occupational therapist will be valuable over the coming weeks and months. The stay in the hospital has been bittersweet as usual. The noise and activity is difficult for me, causing my headaches to worsen more than usual. I'm taking Sativex to help this and have adjusted the times I take it to help soften the increase in pain. I am learning. Sleep is always difficult in this setting, and the steroids do not help with this, so I have been taking a sleeping pill each night. Even with this, I'm getting just about 7 hours of deep rest, when I usually have 8 to 9 hours of sleep at home. So I have lost sleep caused by insomnia due to the steroids. Not fun. I have another 2 days of treatment to go, but it will be 2 weeks before I know if it's been worth the risk, the incubation period for COVID-19. This pandemic has affected everyone in our society, from the youngest to the oldest. Having several chronic illnesses in this time is scary. It is also medieval, as we don't have some wonderful medicine to protect us from this horrible prospect. My life depends on the actions of others, and not just one person, but everyone. One slip in social distancing or poor cough etiquette could mean my death. I am 51, and despite my chronic conditions, I can still be a valuable resource for research into the future. My input could make someone else's life better, and they could cut it short because someone focuses solely on their need and not the needs of our society. The staff in the hospital have been excellent, from the porter who went to get my bags from the car to the nurse who shared a poem with me. I have been overwhelmed by the care I have received. All these small gestures add up to a positive experience of what could be a very frightening time and place. And in my post, I shared the poem that the nurse, Brian Kelly, shared with me, and I'll read it now. Not one sigh will shed. Take this thing, this terrible thing, that is the roar, the scare inside of me. I will swallow whole your sea and soul and eat your heart, your beating heart for tea. In a raindropped spit where gleams no shine, the moon is mine, you see, and stars will fall to creep, to crawl, to pierce and plough the hung coal heart in thee. So, that was my experience before and just when I went into hospital. My next post actually describes what happened after I went to hospital, and I don't want to preempt that now. But making these types of decisions when you have a chronic illness is really, really hard. You're balancing two things which can be catastrophic to you. And how do you balance the two of them? There's no formula, there's no rule book. And the problem is you're facing the unknown. I didn't know and still don't know the impact of going to hospital. And I still don't know the impact of not getting the treatment if I didn't go to hospital, or even the impact of the treatment as a result of going to the hospital. So I really don't know whether it was a good decision or not. I do know that when in the following days, my walking did improve, absolutely. And the care that I got in the hospital was absolutely fantastic. And the way the nurses and the doctors looked after me made me feel more comfortable with taking that risk. But you cannot rule out all the various possibilities of what could happen. So you do have to make decisions, and that's what life is. We make decisions and we take risks, and we make decisions based on the best information we have at the time. And we know we don't have complete information, and we don't know whether it is going to be the right choice, but still we go ahead, and we have to bite the bullet, as they say. That is part of my life, and that is part of having life with a chronic illness, but it's part of everybody's life. And we cannot live in fear all the time. We must look to the positive, what could potentially help us. And that's really the way I look at life. There are negative things that could happen, but if I focus on them, I believe that they're more likely to happen. So I look at the positive. I look at what is good and what is great that can happen into the future. And I think by doing that, in some way, I'm creating an environment that will allow better things to happen to me. We all have our constraints, whether it's financial or emotional, family, health. There are many things that can be restrictions on how we can live our life and impact our lives. But we also have a choice on how we react to those outside or those external influences. We can choose to let them dominate, or we can choose to let our own good, positive thoughts dominate and let those be the focus. And that's one of the reasons why every day I write in my journal. And my journal focuses on the good that will happen. Because I believe by writing about good, I will create good. Anyway, that's my experience. That's how I live my life with chronic illness. And that's how I manage to get up every day. That's how I look forward to each day. And despite how bad yesterday might have been, I look at today as a new chance for success, a new chance for optimism, a new chance for living a better life. So hopefully next week there will be another blog post and then a few more thoughts. And thank you very much for listening. My name is Robert Joyce.